Good afternoon, Ms. Bridgewater.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Your
Hope you're doing.
reset date, I'm doing wonderful. Hope you are too.
Thank
Reset
you.
date is March 27th.
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome.
See, we'll get started as soon as everyone gets on with us.
Okay, no problem.
To courtroom 2, let me go ahead and make my announcement if it's okay with you all.
Yep, we're ready.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney representing you, we're offering you the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. Let's see, who do we have? Who do we have first, courtroom 2?
Before we get started, Your Honor, we have I have a 3 card here, Mr. Shurton. He was on a pull sheet this morning, but he's not on the calendar. Deonta Shurton.
Okay. Does anyone know about that person?
Those 2 cases have dates of incident that are past the statute of limitations. They have been dismissed. NODs were submitted. I'll make sure they get to Mr. Glanton and the folks at the jail.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Allen.
Of course. Thank you.
We'll start with position number 4, Ms. Del Mastro.
Okay. And who's representing Ms. Del Mastro this afternoon?
That'll be me, Your Honor.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon.
Good
Good afternoon, Ms. Del Mastro. You have been charged in case 25 CR 001317A with battery family violence. Is there a history? Good afternoon, Mr. Howard.
Uh, yeah. I think she got forced. I'll defer to the state on this one. I forgot to type this one up.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. McConkey.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I have that this is her second arrest. I see a 2025 possession of a Schedule 1 controlled substance and DUI. This case is from June 24th of 2024. The incident location is 12190 Ocala Way in Johns Creek. The victim in this case is Mr. Justin Frank, who is the defendant's stepfather. The defendant is accused of striking her stepfather in the face, causing swelling and redness. The defendant then ran up to her room and she did commit some self-harm. EMS arrived and observed the defendant had a laceration on her forearm and a laceration on her neck. So she was sent to the hospital for some MH treatment. Our office has spoken with the victim as well as the defendant's mother, Ms. Claire DeMalstro. They confirmed that they all lived together at the incident location, that the defendant was having an MH crisis. She says that they were trying to prevent her from getting in the car, and in the midst of all of that, the defendant accidentally hit her stepfather. Her stepfather did state that it was not intentional. They state their main goal was to get medical attention for the defendant because she was bleeding, and they confirmed that she was transported to the hospital and did get stitches. They state that she has been in residential treatment, and she has also been receiving some inpatient, intensive outpatient services. She is under care, and she is receiving some medication. They, of course, want their daughter to return back to the residence. Given our conversation with her parents, the recommendation is for a signature bond, no further violent contact with her stepfather or with her mother, that she remain compliant with any treatment plans that she's on and also any medications that she's been ordered to take, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to her parents. I do see that her mom, Ms. Claire, is here. I would also ask the court to sound for her stepfather, Mr. Justin Frank.
Mr. Frank or Ms. Del Mastro would like to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. You certainly don't have to, but if you would like to, I'll need for you to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in.
This is Justin Frank. Can you hear me?
I can, Mr. Frank, but I cannot see you. Can you activate your camera for me?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that, so I apologize. I've got it says video here, but I've got it turned on.
Okay. Did you want to tell me anything more, Mr. Frank, than other than what the prosecutors has
Yes,
told
sir.
me?
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
do not wish
If
to.
you would, if Mr. Frank, if you would like to, I'm happy to hear from you, but I'm going to have to see you in that case. Okay.
Okay.
So if we can assist you somehow with getting your camera activated,
Yeah, I'll tell you
I'm
what,
happy to.
is it okay if my wife goes first, if Claire speaks first, and then while I work on my camera situation?
Yes, sir. If she chooses to. Ms. Del
Excuse me,
Mastro.
Judge, I did prompt him to start his video as well. So it's nothing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miss Grace. Let's see. Miss Claire Del Mastro, if you would like to address the court, you'll have to unmute yourself for me.
Hi there.
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am. If you'll raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
Thank you. I just wanted to just make sure that you know that this was definitely a mental health crisis, and at no point was anybody worried for their own safety. Besides, Drew was only a danger to herself and nobody else, and she's been working hard to try to participate in all of her recovery programs and outpatient services. And we really want her, home and continue to do that. And the other thing is that we had no idea she even had this warrant. And when as soon as we found out, she willfully, went to the police department and cooperated. So I just want you to be aware of that. And we love her and she's a good kid.
Okay, very good. Thank you for being here this afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogalski, anything that you want to add? Any objections to what the state is requesting?
No, Your Honor, we definitely do not have an objection to a signature bond. What I do want to add in this case here is I did speak extensively to Ms. Del Mastro earlier today. And I also spoke to the younger Ms. Del Mastro, my client, as well. I would just like to reiterate what had already been said here, and just state for the record, I want this on the record. Ms. Del Mastro is going through treatment for something that is so exceptionally difficult. Mental health is such a difficult thing to experience, and I'm very glad that we live in a day and age where we are finally paying more attention to it. So what I do want to say is, Your Honor, I do ask that you grant this signature bond, and I can go through all of the bond factors if you'd like me to. Obviously, you've heard from Ms. Del Mastro already, and Justin Frank is on the line as well, if his video could get going. But I do just want to throw out there, like, Ms. Del Mastro is getting her GED. She's in the process of doing that. She has gotten treatment already. She is currently doing outpatient treatment. She had already been to Peachford, then Hillside. This is not somebody who is out here causing problems or trying to create problems. She is at the very beginning of her life. She is 18 years old. And I think, honestly, I am more proud than anything of Ms. Del Mastro for going and seeking help and working to improve her mental health, because I just think that's a really important thing. So we do ask that you grant this, and that would be my only request. Thank you.
Signature trial level. No further contact with Mr. Frank. Stay compliant with any treatment plans that she's presently on. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. All right. Good luck to you, Miss.
How much was that?
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial.
You said no further.
Violent contact.
Your Honor, for some reason, you're going in and out. I don't know what it is, but it makes it very difficult to hear you. I understand you're doing the best you can, but I just wanted to make you aware that it's going in and out.
All right, give me a moment.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Bridgewater, just let me know if you can't hear me. I'm not sure if I've rectified the issue or not. All right, who do we have next?
Your Honor, before we start, yesterday, I know it wasn't you, it was Judge Law, but it's the wrong name for what's this, Blondie Harris? It's supposed to be Cecilia Johnson on the bond order.
Who was her attorney?
That's me, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. McLean, can you rectify that situation?
I can Xerox white out, send back a copy of the already signed order with what the name's supposed to be, or I could just supply the name.
Okay, you're gonna have to do that with whoever you send that to, send it to Judge Law since she made that determination yesterday.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. All right, courtroom 2, they will rectify that.
All right, Mr. McLean, can you kind of put a rush on that because they're trying to get her out at ASAP?
Understood. Yeah, that would have already been done, but we just had a meeting that interrupted the flow of our preparation. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next we have position number 7, Ms. Jones.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jones. You have been charged in case 25 CR 001309B with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third, last was 08 trafficking cocaine.
That's my case, Your Honor.
Oh, God, no.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Allen.
Good afternoon. This is an incident from the 12th. So yesterday at about 1:40 p.m., police were called to 2741 Westchester Drive. This is the East Point address. There they spoke with the defendant as well as her 24-year-old daughter. The indication in the documents we have in the warrant state that both parties were arrested. The warrant specifically states that this defendant choked her daughter, causing bruising to the neckline and her arm. The defendant told police that there was an altercation. She was upset with her 24-year-old daughter who lives with her there at that location because she hadn't taken the trash out. They argued about it in the morning, and then the young woman, Mrs. Heaven Jones, left and went to school, I believe. When she came back at around 1:30, her mother was still upset with her. I guess she hadn't taken the trash out. The defendant told police that she followed her daughter to her bedroom, and when her daughter tried to close the door, she shoved the door open and the door struck Mrs. Heaven Jones. They engaged in an altercation there. 911 was called. The victim or cross defendant, Mrs. Heaven Jones, reported that her mother, when she assaulted her, grabbed her by her neck, and that's what caused the bruising. The defendant in front of you made threats to kick the daughter out, saying, "I'll let you go be with your boyfriend who beats you up." There's clearly some ongoing issues here. We have not had a chance to talk to Heaven Jones because it appears she was also arrested, Your Honor. We're asking for a $2,000 surety, no contact, and to stay away. I'm not sure who is the owner or leaseholder of that residence, but that these two individuals need to not live in the same home. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And if you'd sound for Heaven Jones, if she was able to join us. Thank you.
And it was 04 drug trafficking, not 08.
Thank you. Ms. Jones is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Jones tells me that I told her the worst thing that could happen would be if the alleged victim was not on, because we could get somewhere if she were. Ms. Jones tells me that she takes care of her 81-year-old mother. That would be the alleged victim's grandmother. And that person has dementia. I believe Nadia Jones is herself the owner or leaseholder, and she's very concerned about her mother's condition while she's away. And I explained to her what could happen. So Her background, Your Honor, is that she is a chef with certifications from Atlanta Area Tech and has worked as a chef at the City Winery, rather, the Agnes Scott College Food Service, the Emory University Food Service, which is called Dobbs Hall, and also Twisted Pie. I don't know what that is. But basically for the last 2.5 years, taking care of her mom while trying to, work her job. But it would be a disaster for her mom if she were not allowed to return home. We asked the court to consider a signature bond, considering the education and work level and the relative to some folks that we see lack of arrests. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. McLean, you're telling me, so Heaven Jones is Nadia Jones's daughter. They
Correct.
both live in the same residence, and that residence is Nadia Jones's residence.
I believe that's correct, yes. Also,
Okay, also who?
Antoine Hall is on Zoom, that is the ex of Nadia Jones, and Mr. Hall may be a parent of a child, but I'm not sure of that. But he is familiar with the family and can help enlighten us as well.
Well, I just need to, well, you've already enlightened me as much as I need to be enlightened, as long as you say that it's her residence, and so I'm going to allow her to go back to her residence, but she's not to have any contact with Heaven Jones. So for the battery, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2 makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with Heaven Jones. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Very good. Thank you.
Good luck to you, Ms. Jones. Who do we have next?
Next, we have position number 2, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown. You have been charged in case 25 CR 001315F with loitering and prowling, possession of marijuana less than an ounce, and one additional misdemeanor charge. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
18. I got open disorderly conduct out of South Fulton and trespass. On probation for trespass, simple battery out of state court. It's 24 CR 005 860H. Also on probation for terrorist threats. 24 CR 007 045H. On probation out of DeKalb County for trespass, disorderly conduct, and simple assault. 2025 FTA. Had a 2024 ag assault and loitering. It was transferred to state court. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday at 2020 Lee Street, Southwest Atlanta. The defendant is accused of trespassing at that MARTA location. Sorry, not trespassing, Your Honor. He's accused of loitering at that MARTA location from about 9:20 a.m. until officers made contact with him at about 4:45 p.m. He was constantly pacing back and forth and had absolutely no intentions of catching a bus or a rail station, which is in violation of MARTA policies. There was a witness who indicated that he saw the defendant touching himself inappropriately, which is why he called the police. Officers also found about 3.3 grams of marijuana on the defendant's person. The state's recommendation based on the facts and also the defendant's criminal history, which we just heard, is a $2,000 surety bond. Stay away from all MARTA locations, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Thank you. Whose case is this?
This is mine, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, come before you is Mr. Brown. He is 35 years of age. He's resided in the state of Georgia for the past 10 years, a little bit over that, actually. His current address is 10229 Hemlock Way in Jonesboro, Georgia. Your Honor, he resides at that address with his father, his stepmother, and his brother. He also does have an 8-year-old child who he does help take care of. Your Honor, he graduated from high school, and he also is, when I had asked him what he does for work, he is a religious preacher. And so, Your Honor, we do understand the length criminal history. However, in Mr. Brown's favor here, we would argue that none of these are violent charges, and so we would be requesting at this time, given his indigent status as well as the nonviolent nature of these counts, for a signature bond in this case. Thank you.
And for the loitering and prowling, it'll be a $250 good bond. For the possession, a $250 good bond. For the third count, a $500 good bond, makes for a total of a $1,000 good bond. Stay away from the Lee Street MARTA station. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Brown. Mr. McLean, those cases that you need a breakout room for, would it be sufficient to hold those cases until the end of the calendar and go off the YouTube?
That would be sufficient, yes.
Okay, so courtroom 2, if you'll make note of those 2 cases that we need to have placed at the end of the calendar for me, please.
Okay. Which cases are those?
Shavers and Ladria. I'm probably mispronouncing that, sorry.
She's got one. Shavers is in. Well, can we do Shavers kind of first, because he's got to go to medical?
Okay. I think well, let's see.
I mean,
I apologize, not Shavers, it's McBride. McBride and Ladria.
all right, so
Shavers does not need a breakout after all.
gotcha. All right. So, all right, we'll continue with position number 3, Mr. Bernie.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Burney. You've been charged in case 25 CR 001316A with hit and run and driving while improper backing and driving while your license was suspended or revoked. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? You're on mute, Mr. Howard, if you're talking to me.
Yeah, I was talking. 13. He was arrested August 16th. Suspended license. That was out of Douglas County. Got a Cobb County trespass, possession of tools. 2023 probation, 2023 FTA, 2022 suspended license conviction, and another phase to appear. He's one out of Cobb and Douglas County.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. It looks like the defendant also has a 2024 larceny conviction out of New York. This incident is from October 11th, 2024. The defendant is accused of backing his vehicle into the vehicle belonging to an individual named Miss Reese. Both parties proceeded to exit their vehicles after the accident to assess the damage. The defendant then proceeded to enter his car and drive away while the victim was calling the police and attempting to take pictures of the damage. The defendant did not exchange any information with the victim. In a 6-person lineup, the victim was able to identify the defendant as the individual who struck her vehicle. A DMV check showed that the defendant's license was also suspended due to him having an FTA. The state's recommendation, based on the facts and also the defendant's history, is a $1,500 surety bond, no driving without a valid license, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Yes, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Come before you is Mr. Burney. He is 32 years of age. He's been residing in the state of Georgia for the past 2 years. His address is 6230 Bridlewood Lane, and that's in Douglasville, Georgia, where he resides with the mother of his child and his child. He does have a child in 4th grade. At the moment, he graduated from high school. He also does have asthma, so I do think that a stay in jail is especially difficult with that condition. Your Honor, he does have good employment. He's a loctician. He specialized doing specialized hairstyling, which is super difficult. We would be asking in this case for Mr. Burney to have a signature bond to his holds, so that way he can go and get those resolved this time.
Okay, I'm gonna release him to the hold. So for the hit and run, it'll be a $4,000 signature bond through the jail. For the improper backing, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. For the driving without a license, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Makes for a total of a $6,000 signature bond through the jail. No driving without a valid license, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Burney.
Yeah, you better. Can you repeat those bond amounts again, please?
4,000 for the hit and run, 1,000 for each of the other two charges, makes for a total of a $6,000 signature bond through the jail.
All right. Next, we'll go to position number 5, Mr. Francis.
Good afternoon, Mr. Francis. You've been charged in case 25 CR 001318G with battery family violence, simple battery family violence, theft by taking, and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
This is third arrest. 2023 sale of marijuana, possession of a firearm by convicted felon, a window tint, possession of a Schedule 4. That's out of Douglas County. Got an open theft by taking, terrorist threats out of Gwinnett. That's it.
Pataki?
Your Honor, this incident happened around December 31st of last year. I have that the incident location is 2050 Cheshire Bridge Road Northeast in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Ms. Olivia Smith, who used to live in the same residence as the defendant. The victim told officers that her and her ex-boyfriend, the defendant, had been arguing back and forth because he wanted to get back together. The defendant came back to her apartment on December 31st and stole her Ring camera. And she also noted that it looks like her front door was broken. Around 2 a.m., the defendant came back, proceeded to break through her front door, snatch her off her bed, throw her around, and then strike her multiple times before leaving the apartment. The victim did have scratches on the back of her neck as well as on her upper chest area. I'll note that the victim did file a TPO back in January of this year. That TPO was filed January 2nd. So that was just about right after this incident. That number is 25 CV 0000. That's 4082. And that TPO petition, she alleged that after the defendant broke into her house and struck her, the next day he was following her around and chasing her through traffic. In that TPO petition, she also states the defendant has threatened her and his friends have also threatened her. Furthermore, that TPO states that at one point the defendant pointed a gun at the victim. This was about around Thanksgiving time in 2023. That TPO was voluntarily dismissed on January 15th. Our office has spoken with the victim in this case, Ms. Smith. She states that her and the defendant are in a relationship. They currently do not live together. They share no children. She confirmed the events in the warrant, but she stated that the defendant only hit her once. She states her and the defendant have been in a relationship since 2017, and he's never been violent towards her. They've had contact since this incident. There's been no violence. She states she's currently in Alabama and is no longer living at that location. She's not in fear of him and wants to continue contact. The state's recommendation is based on the concerning allegations made in the warrant. We are asking for a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim. I know she did indicate that she wants contact, but we have some serious concerns about her safety. Stay away from the victim's residence, wherever that may be. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And of course, that he undergoes some anger awareness. I would ask the court to sound for the victim in this case, Ms. Olivia Smith.
If Ms. Smith is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. Rogalski?
Yes, Your Honor. Come before you is Mr. Francis. He is 24 years of age. He's lived in the state of Georgia in the Atlanta area for his entire life, with the exception of when he had moved to Alabama for college to obtain his degree in those years. His current address is 1063 West Peachtree Street, apartment 2601. Your Honor, he did go graduate from high school. Afterwards, went and got his bachelor's at the University of South Alabama in both business management as well as human resources. He now is a designer. So he's a fashion designer. He designs his own clothing lines. Your Honor, if I did not hear the state incorrectly with their victim contact, I believe, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me. I believe they stated that the victim was okay with further contact. And so our request here would just be that it is no further violent contact. So that way they may still be able to see each other. And again, if I misheard that, please correct me. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. But that would be our request. And today, for the purposes of setting a bond, we would be asking for a maximum bond of $1,000, $250 per count. Good bond.
Okay, for the battery, it'll be $1,000 good bond. For each of the other charges, it will be a $500 good bond each. Makes for a total of a $2,500 good bond. No further violent contact with Ms. Smith. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Francis.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. APDC. I have
Yes.
for you position number 6, Ms. Higgins.
Okay, before I go to Ms. Higgins, Attorney Shannon Brown, are you with me?
Hello, Judge. This is Attorney Askew. Shannon Brown is actually my paralegal. I represent Miss Daphne Jordan as a private attorney. You should have a case with State of Georgia versus Walter Jordan.
Okay, yes, I do. That's position 8 on my calendar. So I just wanted to acknowledge you there and let the courtroom 2 know that you were with us this afternoon. So I'll have them bring Mr. Jordan to us as soon as they can, okay?
Thank you, Judge. We appreciate you.
Yes, we'll be with you. Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Higgins. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. Ms. Higgins, you've been charged in case 25 CR 001319D with 2 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third, she got an open battery DV 25 CR 000864D. 2015 ag assault dismissed. That's it.
Yes, Ms. McConkey.
Oh, and
Yes,
that was a pretrial bond. It wasn't, it was judge law. Just so you know.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, this is an incident from yesterday. The victim in this case is Mr. Braylon Cortez Hamilton, who is the defendant's son. Mr. Hamilton is also the same victim in that open battery family violence case that pretrial mentioned. Officers arrived at the location and met with the victim, who stated that his probation officer had come to visit him. He believes that visit was due to his mother calling the probation officer. He stated that nothing came of the visit and that this is what started an argument between him and his mother. He stated that during the argument, his mom slapped his hand, so he slapped her hand in return. She began shoving him and he shoved back. They continued shoving back and forth. At one point, the defendant grabbed a golf club and attempted to strike her son with it. The victim states that he grabbed an oven pan in order to block that strike. After this, they began wrestling. The victim states that he did put his mom in a headlock to help cease her attack on him. And at that point, she proceeded to bite him in the arm. Officers did note that the victim had a bite mark on his arm as well as scratches on his face. Officers made contact with the victim's probation officer, who told the police that the defendant is the one who initiated the argument with her son. The defendant's 15-year-old daughter, a minor with the initials ZH, told officers that she saw her mom strike her brother first when she slapped his hand. In that open case that she has, she was given a $2,500 SOB through pretrial services. She was ordered to have no further violent contact with her son or any of her other minor children, no corporal punishment, and she was also asked to take one parenting class within 45 days of her release. Our office has not been able to get in contact with Mr. Hamilton to ascertain what his wishes are. The state's recommendation is for a $2,500 surety bond. I am hesitant to ask for a stay away because it seems like there's at least one other child in the home, and I don't know if there's any other adults present in the home. Same thing with the contact. I don't know if her son has somewhere else that he can live. But this is the second case in less than a month involving the defendant and her son, so there are definitely concerns about his safety in the home. I will defer to the court regarding that stay away and what the contact should be. I would ask that she also take an anger awareness class in addition to that parenting class that she was asked to take in her previous bond. I'm not sure if DFACS is involved in this case yet, but I would ask that she comply with any potential DFACS orders, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My client is a single mother dealing with a problem child. This child is 17 years old, and as the status stated, he's already on probation. He is very rude and disrespectful to his mother, and he actually attacked her yesterday because he blames her for the fact that his probation officer chose to make contact with him. Mom was not the one who called, but even had she been, she was within her right to do so. This is a minor living in our household, and he was the one who first struck my client. My client has no significant criminal history. These two last arrests were involving this young man who has no respect for his mother. I believe the state said he actually admitted to putting his mother in a choke hold. That is totally inappropriate behavior. She tells me that she doesn't know what to do. She has this child in her household. She's trying to get help to deal with him. And then he calls the police and makes these kinds of allegations against her when he's the one who has been acting improperly. This is her home, Your Honor, and she has a 15-year-old daughter who's also there. And apparently, this young man is also trying to influence the 15-year-old to act out as well. So my client needs help, but she's not in a position to pay for bond. She told me she just got employment. She's worried about losing this employment, Your Honor. So I would ask a signature bond for my client. If the state thinks it's appropriate for DFACS to intervene, then perhaps they may want to take this child who's already on probation into their custody because mom is at her wit's end as to how to deal with this child. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. McConkey, I think someone told me recently that you all don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Ms. Allen can help me here as well, regarding DFACS and getting in touch with DFACS to assist. Is that something that you all do or you don't do, or?
We do have a contact with DFACS who's a liaison. I've already reached out to the juvenile court, our liaison there, to figure out a situation. So I assure you DFACS and the juvenile court are involved.
Okay.
The issue we have is that we wouldn't want to order mom to not be in her home, but this is a 17-year-old who's clearly being monitored by the DJJ and juvenile court. And so we need some information about where it is he's going to be if he's not going to be at home.
Okay, well, if DFACS has been notified or it will be notified, then I'm going to let DFACS handle it. I'm going to have them abide by any DFACS orders. So if we can get DFACS involved to assist. As for today, this has to be per judge. Mr. Howard is per judge. It's going to be $1,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1 for each charge. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. I don't know if she's taken that parenting class, but I'm going to order the parenting class and 1-day anger awareness as well to be completed within the next 30 days. Abide by any DFACS orders and no further violent contact with any of the children in the household. All
Thank
right.
you, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck to you, Ms. Higgins. And thank you, Ms. Allen.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you for your help, Ms. McLeod. Have a good
You're
rest of your
welcome.
day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Who do we have next?
We got position number 11, Mr. Pennox.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Pinnock. You've been charged in case 25 CR 001321C with battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
What number is this?
Position 11.
Oh,
I
I
don't
ain't have
see
no
it.
pin
I
up.
don't see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't
didn't
see
have
it on
one
the
on my,
sheet.
he wasn't on my pull sheet.
Okay, thank you. Do you have the history, Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. He has six arrest cycles: 2017 FTA, 2016 possession of marijuana, and 2015 driving while license suspended. A 2023 conviction for a non-fingerprintable offense. It was originally a driving while license suspended or revoked. 2018 conviction for obstruction of a law enforcement officer. He received first offender treatment for that. This is an incident from October 5th of 2024. The incident location is 590 Means Street, Northwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Corbin Bradley. The defendant is accused of punching the victim in the face while they were at work. When officers arrived, they noted that the victim had a deep laceration on the side of his nose that was bleeding. The victim transported himself to the hospital, where it was discovered that his nose was in fact fractured. Officers did review the victim's discharge paperwork, which confirmed that he needed stitches and that his nasal bone had been fractured. We have asked for this case to be upgraded to a felony given the severity of the injury. We're still waiting to hear back from the DA's office. Our office has spoken with Mr. Bradley, who confirmed the events in the warrant and confirmed his injuries. He states that he didn't need to get surgery, but he is still experiencing swelling and pain on his nose to this day. He said him and the defendant had had arguments in the past, but this is the first time that the defendant had been physically violent towards him. The defendant was fired from that location as a result of this incident. He, of course, wants no contact. The state's recommendation is for a $3,000 surety bond, given the facts and the severity of the injury that was sustained by the victim. No further contact with the victim, of course. Stay away from that incident location. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol, and that he also undergo some anger awareness. I would ask the court to sound for the victim in this case, Mr. Corbin Bradley.
Mr. Bradley is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Your Honor. My client tells me he has not been fired from that. His background is in, he is an actor and he also produces television shows. Your Honor, he has appropriate education along that level. He asked the court to consider a signature bond instead of a surety bond, and he has a stable address and will make court on time.
So you say that he still works at whatever Main Street is, at the Main Street address?
He tells me that is correct, Your Honor. I've not called him, but he says he still works there and was not fired.
And who is Mr. Bradley to Mr. Pinnock? Does he work there as well?
Yes,
I
there
believe they
are
were.
co-workers.
Yes.
Okay.
I will note that the warrant said that they spoke to a manager at that location, and she told them that they had been having issues with Mr. Pinnock for a while.
Okay. Well, if he's employed there, I'm not going to keep him there away from there, but he's to have no contact with Mr. Bradley. So if Mr. Bradley also works there, he's going to have to not come into contact with him. It will be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with Corbin Bradley. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Next, we'll go at position number 13, Mr. Wilson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wilson. You've been charged in case 25 CR 001312J with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
42. 2024 probation. 2024 simple assault DVRS. 2023 ag assault, possession of a knife or a firearm by a convicted felon conviction. 2019 simple battery arrest. 2018 FTA probation. 2017 and 16 FTA. 2016 probation. 2015 simple battery conviction. 2015 obstruction theft by receiving conviction. 2012 simple assault and FTA.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Dunlap. Is this your case?
Yes, it is. Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident stems from yesterday on March 12th at 1615 North Olympian Way in Atlanta. There was a 911 call that indicated that the female victim in this, I'm sorry, they were both arrested. This is a dual arrest, but Miss Walker is not on this calendar. But the 911 call indicated that a female assaulted a male. When officers arrived, they spoke to the defendant, who said the mother of his two children, Miss Destiny Walker, were involved in a verbal and physical altercation. The defendant stated that he confronted her about bringing other men into the home and engaging in sexual relations. The defendant stated that Ms. Walker struck him in the face and poked him in the neck with an unknown object. Body camera footage showed that the defendant had a small cut on top of his nose and a scratch to his neck. The officers also spoke to Ms. Walker, who stated that she was sleeping in bed when the defendant came in drunk, accused her of having an affair with other men in the marital home. Pulled a blanket off her, struck her in the face with a closed fist. She also had scratches to the right side of her nose and arm. Their two minor children were present. They have been together for about 11 years, it says. Given the defendant's history, as we heard, there's several simple battery convictions, battery, aggravated assault. The state is looking for a $5,000 surety bond, a family violence intervention program, a stay away from the home located at 1615 Olympian North Way. No further contact with Destiny Walker, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor. He is 42 years old, been in Georgia all his life, I believe. He's in a cleaning service and has worked there for 5 years. He has a high school education. Before the cleanings, he's also working for Amazon, so he's industrious in that manner. He's asking the court to consider the lowest possible bond, including a signature bond if that is possible. But if not, then a $1,000 to $1,500 surety bond.
Okay, it will be a $2,000 good bond, no further contact with Destiny Walker, stay away from the Olympian Way address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. If necessary, third-party transfer of any minor children, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Mr. Wilson.
Next, we'll go to position number 12, Mr. Shavers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shavers. You've been charged in case 25 CR 001313E with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
13. Got an open 2 counts, possession of a controlled substance with intent, possession of marijuana with intent, possession of a schedule 3, 4, or 5 with intent, possession of a knife. Hold on. This Shavers?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm right. Possession of a firearm by convicted felon. That's 24 SC 004492. 2016 ag assault, possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission, terroristic threats conviction. Got another 2016 terroristic threats, cruelty in the third conviction. 2010 terroristic threats conviction. 2014 probation. And FTAs from 2013, 11, and 2009.
Thank you. Dunlap?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident happened at 2931 Revere Court in East Point. It appears the defendant and the victim do not live at this address. They were visiting someone. Officers Officers were able to observe visible swelling to the top of victim's head and her right eye. The victim says the defendant was messing with her stomach, to which she didn't like because she is pregnant. She told him to stop multiple times, and when she began to push him off, the defendant punched her in the top of her head and her face. The warrant advised that she told police that she's pregnant with the defendant's baby and that they live together. As I stated before, she observed to have swelling on the top of her head and right eye. The defendant did advise that she hit him, but officers did not observe any bruises on the defendant. We did have a chance to speak to the victim, a Miss Kyasia Green. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that's the first time he's been violent with her. He stated that she states that they live together at a 530 Mundy's Mill Road address in Jonesboro. She says she has left and is currently staying in a motel, and she does not want any contact with the victim. She did state that she will not be attending Zoom, but we can still sound for her when appropriate if she changed her mind. Given the defendant's history, there was a prior aggravated assault with someone else. It looks like in 2016, someone else he was in a relationship with. The state is looking for a $3,000 surety bond. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while on bond. A stay away from Kyasia Green. A stay away from the home address if Ms. Green is still located there at the 570 Muddy's Mill Road in Jonesboro. And we can sound for the victim when appropriate if she is online.
If Ms. Green is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cedric Shavers tells me that he is 38. That's correct. He does have his address at Mundy's Mill Road in Jonesboro in Clayton County. He has a certificate as a woodworker. He has a certificate as a barber. So he's gone through that education. He owns a business in which he owns 3 ice cream trucks and has employees. He also does field service, which has to do with real estate preparation for a real estate company and works for them. He's asking the court to give him the lowest possible bond appropriate to this situation, and he asked that that be a signature bond if that is at all possible. Thank you.
It will be a $2,000 good bond, no further contact with Kyasia Green, stay away from Ms. Green's home address, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Next, sir, we have position number 10, Mr. McBride.
That's one that we need to do confidentiality.
So you'd like to go off the YouTube, Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we can go off the YouTube, Ms. Grace. Are you with me, Ms. Grace?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I hear you.
Yes, we
couldn't
need
hear
to go
you,
off the we need to go off the
Off the
YouTube.
YouTube. Yes, sir.